Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
The testing of an idea. It was an experiment in living. The act of conducting a controlled test or investigation. Try something new, as in order to gain experience. Students experiment sexually. A venture at something new or different. As an experiment, he decided to grow a beard. To conduct a test or investigation. We are experimenting with the new drug in order to fight this disease. The testing of an idea. Not all experimentation is done in laboratories. The act of conducting a controlled test or investigation. Take a sample of. Try something new, as in order to gain experience. Put to the test, as for its quality, or give experimental use to. Perform in order to get a role. A systematic investigation of a matter of public interest. A search for knowledge. An instance of questioning. Inquire into. The students had to research the history of the Second World War for their history project. A search for knowledge. Their pottery deserves more research than it has received. Attempt to find out in a systematically and scientific manner. The student researched the history of that word. Systematic investigation to establish facts. A systematic investigation of a matter of public interest. A search for knowledge. An instance of questioning. Research into questions posed by scientific theories and hypotheses. Research into questions posed by scientific theories and hypotheses. An investment that is very risky but could yield great profits. Proceed somewhere despite the risk of possible dangers. We ventured into the world of high-tech and bought a supercomputer. Put at risk. Put forward, of a guess, in spite of possible refutation. A commercial undertaking that risks a loss but promises a profit. Any venturesome undertaking, especially one with an uncertain outcome. Investigate scientifically. Let's investigate the syntax of Chinese. Conduct an inquiry or investigation of. The district attorney's office investigated reports of possible irregularities. Examine so as to determine accuracy, quality, or condition. Investigate scientifically. Trying something to find out about it. Any standardized procedure for measuring sensitivity or memory or intelligence or aptitude or personality, etc. The test was standardized on a large sample of students. A set of questions or exercises evaluating skill or knowledge. When the test was stolen, the professor had to make a new set of questions. Test or examine for the presence of disease or infection. Examine someone's knowledge of something. The teacher tests us every week. Put to the test, as for its quality, or give experimental use to. The act of testing something. The act of undergoing testing. He survived the great test of battle. Achieve a certain score or rating on a test. She tested high on the LSAT and was admitted to all the good law schools. A hard outer covering as of some amoebas and sea urchins. Determine the presence or properties of a substance. show a certain characteristic when tested. He tested positive for HIV. Undergo a test. She doesn't test well. A preliminary experiment whose outcome can lead to a more extensive experiment. Trying something to find out about it. A sample for 10 days free trial. An annoying or frustrating or catastrophic event. His mother-in-law's visits were a great trial for him. The act of testing something. In the experimental trials, the amount of carbon was measured separately. The act of undergoing testing. Candidates must compete in a trial of skill. Law. The determination of a person's innocence or guilt by due process of law. He had a fair trial and the jury found him guilty. Sports. A preliminary competition to determine qualifications. The trials for the semifinals began yesterday. Trying something to find out about it. Trying something to find out about it. A test of the suitability of a performer. The act of giving students or candidates a test, as by questions, to determine what they know or have learned. An examination of the characteristics of something. There are laboratories for commercial testing. The act of subjecting to experimental test in order to determine how well something works. They agreed to end the testing of atomic weapons. Experimenting until a solution is found. An experiment designed to control for variables affecting the results of another experiment. A celebrated experiment conducted by Albert Michelson and Edward Morley. Their failure to detect any influence of the Earth's motion on the velocity of light was the starting point for Einstein's theory of relativity. The procedure that is varied in order to estimate a variable's effect by comparison with a control condition. Handle and cause to function. Control the lever. Exercise authoritative control or power over. Control the budget. Lessen the intensity of. Temper. Hold in restraint. Hold or keep within limits. Control your anger. A standard against which other conditions can be compared in a scientific experiment. The control condition was inappropriate for the conclusions he wished to draw. Place under restrictions. Limit access to by law. This substance is controlled. Discipline in personal and social activities. She never lost control of herself. Be careful or certain to do something. Make certain of something. Control the quality of the product. Maintain influence over others or oneself, skillfully, usually to one's advantage. She is a very controlling mother and doesn't let her children grow up. The state that exists when one person or group has power over another. Check or regulate a scientific experiment by conducting a parallel experiment or comparing with another standard. Are you controlling for the temperature? Great skillfulness and knowledge of some subject or activity. A mechanism that controls the operation of a machine. The speed controller on his turntable was not working properly. Have a firm understanding or knowledge of, be on top of. Do you control these data? A relation of constraint of one entity, thing or person or group, by another. Measures for the control of disease. A spiritual agency that is assumed to assist the medium during a séance. Physiology, regulation or maintenance of a function or action or reflex, etc. The timing and control of his movements were unimpaired. power to direct or determine. Under control. The activity of managing or exerting control over something. The control of the mob by the police was admirable. The economic policy of controlling or limiting or curbing prices or wages, etc. They wanted to repeal all the legislation that imposed economic controls. Verify by using a duplicate register for comparison. Control an account. A standard against which other conditions can be compared in a scientific experiment. The control condition was inappropriate for the conclusions he wished to draw. The procedure that is varied in order to estimate a variable's effect by comparison with a control condition. Develop a child's or animal's behavior by instruction and practice, especially to teach self-control. Specify as a condition or requirement in a contract or agreement. Make an express demand or provision in an agreement. The state of good health, especially in the phrases in condition, or in shape, or out of condition, or out of shape. A state at a particular time. A condition, or state, of disrepair. Usually plural. A statement of what is required as part of an agreement. The contract set out the conditions of the lease. An assumption on which rests the validity or effect of something else. Information that should be kept in mind when making a decision. A mode of being or form of existence of a person or thing. The human condition. An illness, disease, or other medical problem. A heart condition. Apply conditioner to in order to make smooth and shiny. I condition my hair after washing it. Establish a conditioned response. Put into a better state. He conditions old cars.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.